Good afternoon, YouTube. I'm Ogi F. This is the Bajaj Freedom 125 and we're out for a short spin in the city. Welcome to the channel. Alright, I'm guessing if you've clicked on this video, one of the main things that you're concerned about is how economical it would be to own the Bajaj Freedom 125 over a period of time, especially in comparison to some of the other 125cc motorcycles out there. And what better motorcycle to compare it against than the Honda Shine 125. This has dominated sales over the last few years and in the last 2 quarters as well, from what I've seen on the internet. We're going to compare fuel economy, we're going to talk about the per kilometer running cost, and how long would it take you to eventually make up whatever difference it is between the ex-showroom prices of the two motorcycles. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so to begin with, we got the Bajaj Freedom 125. It has an ex-showroom cost of 95,055 rupees. And keep in mind, this is the base variant which you get. Current prices of CNG and petrol are on the screen right now. And the tank capacity, which is 2 kgs of CNG and 2 liters of petrol. If you go to fill a full tank of CNG and petrol in the Bajaj Freedom 125, it should cost you approximately 353 rupees. And the range you can expect from both CNG and petrol claimed by Bajaj is 334 kilometers. Now, that gives us a cost per kilometer of 1 rupee and 6 paise. Coming now to the Honda Shine 125, the ex-showroom cost is almost 14,000 rupees cheaper than the Freedom 125. Again, petrol prices, tank capacity listed on the screen. The cost for a full tank of fuel is 1,086 rupees and 12 paise. And the range you can expect that's claimed by Honda is 577.5 kilometers. Now this will give you a per kilometer cost of 1 rupee and 88 paise. Now this doesn't seem like a lot, but when you compare the difference, in the first year of running the Bajaj Freedom 125 both on petrol and CNG evenly, you'd get a savings of about 11,990 rupees. Haven't broken even yet. But in 14 months, you would have covered that difference and a little bit more. It then starts to almost double in the following year. And then by year 3, 4 and 5, you're singing all the way to the bank. Now keep in mind that you could make up this difference between the ex-showroom prices of these two motorcycles way sooner if you were to just use CNG on the Bajaj Freedom 125 and only use petrol as and when required, maybe in emergencies when you need to get to a CNG station. Additionally, keep in mind that I have not factored in fluctuations in CNG and petrol prices, and similarly I have not really taken into account the maintenance costs of the two motorcycles. I don't think they'll be too expensive to run, either of them. Again, the decision's finally yours. Do what you want with this information. Keep in mind that there are other factors that you need to consider, whether there's CNG readily available around where you live, whether petrol would be enough for you to get around in case you run out of CNG, and so on and so forth. So take those factors into consideration and make your decision based off that. Back to the video. Now, straight off the bat, I think one of the questions that all of us had was, how would you fill CNG and petrol into a motorcycle? And it's been pretty well engineered, if you ask me. I'm going to show you how that works in just a few minutes. We are heading to one of the many CNG and petrol pumps that are in Mumbai, just to show you that. My buddy Christopher Chaves, who's a journalist with Overdrive, was recently testing the Bajaj Freedom also, and he went to, I think, the same petrol pump that I'm heading to fill this puppy up. So hopefully there's not too many surprise faces, but let's see how long it takes for us to have a full tank of CNG. And I think I'll fill some petrol as well, because I need to take this to work tomorrow. The exhaust note's got a nice bass to it, and we're currently in CNG mode and it's still doing that, so yeah. There isn't too much of a difference between the exhaust note when you switch between CNG and petrol, but nevertheless, it is a nice exhaust note to listen to, especially when you start to climb up the revs. And here we are. I think we'll have to go out back somewhere, or where exactly is CNG fitted? I think it's here. Yep, get in line with the rickshaws. Yep, left my rickshaw sounding motorcycle at home to get the rickshaw style functioning motorcycle for CNG. Let the questions roll in. And the tank is capable of holding 2 kgs of CNG. Let's see how much goes into this now. I have been riding it quite a bit over the last few days. So it's 96 rupees, 1.29 kgs. Everyone's impressed. 15 अगस्त पे लॉन्च हुआ था। 1,10,000 का ऑन रोड प्राइस है। 330 किलोमीटर तक है।
पेट्रोल भी दिया इसमें?
पेट्रोल भी है, 2 लीटर का पेट्रोल है और 2 kg का CNG टैंक है।
अच्छा है, माइलेज अच्छा रहेगा।
हाँ। Okay, so that's CNG on full right now, and we'll fill up some petrol. Alright, so the tank capacity, in case you're wondering, is 2 liters worth of fuel that goes into this, and 2 kgs worth of CNG that gets filled into that tank. And in case you're wondering where all of it is accommodated, they've made a trellis frame which pretty much accommodates both. So the fuel tank is sitting below this section over here, and then we've got the CNG tank which sits right under the seat, which is probably why they've designed the seat like they have. One of the things that a lot of you might be wondering about is safety, and from what I understand, Bajaj ran a whole bunch of tests which also included running a trailer truck over the Freedom 125, and there weren't any explosions. So my family lineage, I think, is relatively safe for now. They have given it a bit of bulk around the front forks. They've given the tank also these shrouds which make it look a little larger than it actually is when you're sitting on it. They've also given it Bluetooth technology in the display, although the functionality of that is limited. There's no turn-by-turn navigation, and you've also got a handy charging slot over there which allows you to connect your devices in case you need to. I think you can pretty much see what target segment Bajaj is going for with this launch. They want someone who is on the go daily and rides a lot in the city, and because of that, I think it'll be pretty economical for people to own this and commute on it frequently. Yeah, the bike does feel like, and I said this in my Instagram stories as well, it does feel like an upscaled Grom, a Honda Grom. It isn't as tiny as a Grom, it isn't as big as one of the other 125cc motorcycles out here, but it sits pretty well in between. And while we talk about it sitting well in between, it also sits well in between the kind of 125cc motorcycles that we have here. So for example, it could reach levels of sportiness similar to the TVS Raider 125 that I was recently reviewing. If you haven't seen that video yet, click on the link in the description or on the screen right now. And it could also be as commuter friendly for those of us just looking to commute in the city as one of the other 125cc's currently available in the market. So it fills in that sweet spot between the two. I like that they've also given it a gear position indicator as well, because that's something that new riders would be interested in knowing and would want to keep track of while they're commuting. Let's talk about ride quality now. And keeping in mind that you'll be spending a lot of time in the saddle on this motorcycle because it'll be used as a workhorse, the rider's triangle is pretty comfortable. The one thing I find a little strange is that they keep the foot pegs back a little bit, because the handlebars aren't too high or too low. The seat height is very comfortable and very welcoming to most riders, irrespective of what height you are at. And I'll get to that ride height bit in a few seconds as well. It's very intelligent what Bajaj have done to accommodate that ride height. But the foot pegs, they sit a little further behind than I would have liked them to. See, they're all the way there. And that's a bit weird, because you end up being in a sporty position, a somewhat sporty position, waist below, but then waist and above, you tend to be in a very relaxed commuter position. There's also no kill switch over here, so when you do want to shut off the motorcycle, you have to do it with the key, unless there's something in the owner's manual that I didn't read. As you can see, it's no slouch either. You can easily pull away from traffic signals. Stop go isn't really a problem. And whether you're in CNG mode or in petrol mode, I don't think you should have any problem navigating through Mumbai's tricky traffic. What is strange is that they've only given it a drum brake at the back, irrespective of what mode you pick. So there's a entry-level model which is at 95,000. Wow. I think this guy's a professor of douchebags. I mean, I understand the Creta guy parking on the zebra crossing, but a Nexon guy? Man, you're an embarrassment to us. What I also find strange is that these foot pegs over here aren't movable. So in the event that you do crash, I think those foot pegs are going to get bent pretty significantly, and there's going to be some cost involved in repairing those. But more importantly, I think if you're at a standstill like this and you're moving around, you're walking the bike around, you're going to have those foot pegs clash into the back of your foot, and God forbid you get rear-ended by another car, you can kiss your shins goodbye. And it's weird because I don't think that Bajaj, with the amount of motorcycles that they produce and the different types of motorcycles that they produce, would have problems in just using some of the foot pegs from some of the other motorcycles that they have. Again, whether it's to keep costs down or not, I'm not too sure. But even then, how much would the cost go up if you use foot pegs that bend backwards when you push on them? They've gone for a very supermoto-ish seat design on this, and I like it. I think it's very plush. Firstly, they've got a lot of cushion added to the seat, but along with that, I think because of the way the front of the seat is designed, as you can see over here, there's this bit of seat which comes up front. You can hook onto the motorcycle pretty easily if you do get a little aggressive with your riding, so to speak. The brakes on this are pretty sharp too, and while they've not gone for really fancy hardware, I think they still do the job very well. What I find strange is that they've not given it ABS at the front, because, well, most of their motorcycles currently offer ABS. I don't see why this one shouldn't. And they've given you only a drum option at the back, which is kind of weird. So even in the top variant, which gets LED lighting up front and a disc brake ahead, you still only get a drum brake at the back. Just remembered, I need to talk about the suspension too. The suspension is set up brilliantly for the city, and I know I say that frequently for other motorcycles, but I think this one is one which will probably take the cake when it comes to city suspension. Front suspension is a bit on the softer side, but that's not really a complaint, because with the amount of potholes that we have in Mumbai, I think it handles it very well. Additionally, I like that they've given it a monoshock at the rear versus dual shocks, because most of the other motorcycles in this segment come with dual shocks, but Bajaj have decided not to do that with the Freedom. Yep, you can see it's got its own fan base already. Now, just to pop the seat open to give you a look at what's underneath. The key is over here somewhere. Yep, there it is. And if you open this up, there is the 2 kg cylinder. One thing I don't think a lot of people have mentioned about the Bajaj Freedom 125 is about the adjustability that's available on this instrument console. So if you unscrew this little knob over here, and if you have a look, there's a bit of adjustability built into that. See that? There's 2 heights that you can adjust this to. This is the lower setting, this is the higher setting, and depending on your height and depending on the angle of the sun or whatever else you want to calculate that based off, you can select your preferred angle to view the instrument console at, and then lock it in with the help of that knob. I think it's a step in the right direction, and I wish more motorcycle manufacturers did something like that for us. Not everyone's built the same. Some of us are built different. I think it's also worth mentioning that these hooks that come on the motorcycle are standard, and for most of us who commute to work daily, and for some of us who would be using it in rural India, that provides a lot of mounting points and a lot of mounting options for us to put tail bags, for us to put any other soft or probably even hard luggage somewhere down the line. I know for me personally it was easy to commute to work and back using the Carbonado tail bag that I have, especially because of these 4 mounting points. It was very quick for me to mount and unmount it, and I think this is something that would be really useful on other motorcycles too, unless you of course have a tail rack. Alright, final thoughts, and who do I think this motorcycle would suit well? Firstly, the obvious choice would be for people in rural India who want a workhorse that will do pretty much all the heavy lifting, especially with the mounting points available at the back, and would give them great mileage too. The only downside would be the availability of CNG in rural India. I don't think that's something that will be very feasible. Another great option is someone who is a young college student or someone who commutes to work daily and doesn't really want a lot of heavy performance on their motorcycle. They just want to get from point A to point B and do that economically. This would be a great option for that, especially in a city like Mumbai with the easy availability of CNG pumps. I think this bike will serve you really well. Again, while it is a little more expensive to buy this motorcycle in comparison to other motorcycles in this segment, I think you'd have to do the math to figure out how many kilometers you'd want to be doing daily for the cost of this to be justified. Performance-wise, no trouble. Maintenance-wise, I don't think there should be any trouble because it's a Bajaj. And even if you do run into problems, the availability and cost of spares are very low. Alright, that's pretty much all I had for today. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not, please share some feedback. As always guys, at least wear your helmets while riding your motorcycles and ride safe. It's a freaking jungle out there. Goodbye.